All right, let's go ahead and get into the guys you got to grab.
Put me in, coach.
The guys you got to grab.
Well, you want to know why? I'm going to tell you right now. If it were up to me, I'm just going to come out and say it. If it were up to me, I would just hit the button, okay, when we transition. Jason seems to think I need to intro it.
I don't.
But when I intro it, I always say what it is. And I heard it from the listeners. They're like, why do you always say news and notes before news and notes? It's because of Jason.
I like that.
It's 100% Jason's
I like
fault.
The man behind the board running the show. I have no choice. I cannot do it except I'm the one in complete control of the show.
You control it, Andy.
What are you saying, Mike? I'm
blabbering. I'm saying do what you got to do and just hit the button.
Well, disappointing Jason. That's just
it's hard.
You don't want to do that. All right, wide receivers to pick up. Jason, who jumps out off the page for you? Who do you want to grab this week? Who do you have confidence moving forward rest of the season?
Nobody.
Because if you're spending fab money out. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Well, I just think that this is a week.
Show's over.
Yeah. This is a week where wide receivers to me are not. There's nobody that stands out. I would if I have a waiver priority, I would pretty much not spend it on one of these guys personally. If I've got fab, I would put in some $0 bids on all these guys and get one of these guys for free. Some of the guys that stand out, you've still got Marvin Jones out there and Kamar Aiken. Even with Joe Flacco's injury, the targets are still going to be there, so they're regular guys. And in some leagues, Vincent Jackson is still available to be picked up.
He would be the main one for me.
Yeah, he's a higher upside guy, but he's still a guy that's harder to play. But when you have to play a wide receiver off of waivers, you're generally looking for somebody who has the potential to do what Vincent Jackson can do. So he's worth taking a look at. What do you think, Mike? Who are you going after?
Sorry. I agree with what you're saying. I mean, like, Terrence Williams is a guy who I think is interesting now that Romo is back. And like we were talking about at the top of the show, if Amendola is out, I'm going to grab a Chris Harper or a Keyshawn Martin because you want to have a piece of the New England offense where there's clearly some concerns, but you just off of history, you got to believe in Brady. You got to believe in Bill Belichick that they can figure it out. So I want a piece of it, and that would be Martin or Harper.
Do you have a leaning one direction or the other between those two?
Martin, because I think that his skill set and just that he is not an undrafted rookie.
No, it's clearly Harper, and we should have a water bet.
Okay, all right.
No.
All right, so I don't think there's a lot of other wide receivers to talk about or discuss. Like you said, Hankerson is out there. Hankerson is going to catch a touchdown every third game and drop passes in between.
And Marvin Jones is maybe still available, and I still like Kamar Aiken moving forward. I know that team is just the Ravens are destroyed with injuries as well, but I think Aiken will still get a ton of targets.
Here's a guy that needs to be on this list without question, and it's Devin Funchess.
Yeah,
because not only did Devin Funchess get he got a touchdown this week, he's getting more involved in the offense, but Corey Brown's going to miss the game on Thursday.
Yeah,
and so if you need a sneaky start, it would be Devin Funchess. I would also say if you need a streaming start, Marcus Wilson. If Jeffrey and Royal aren't going to play again this week, you need to pay attention to him because Cutler's been playing well. And so one guy that could be also later on, I'm going to pass it down the line, but Zach Miller had another okay game. And if those guys are injured again, Zach Miller needs to be on the tight end list. So we'll talk about that. But at the running back position, okay,
this is where it's at, people.
This is really where the meat of our discussion is going to take place. Buck Allen is at the top of the list for Forsett owners and those that aren't owners of Forsett. Now, some people, all right, voice of public opinion about Javorius Allen.
He's not that good.
No, that's not it.
He's really good. I don't know what you're wanting here.
That they're depleted. There's no Joe Flacco. There's no other offensive pieces there, and they're not going to be a very good offense.
And what I would say to that is,
and I think he's really good.
I think that's delightful because it's Mark Trestman is the offensive coordinator. We saw a limited action. Well, that's not limited. It was he played basically the whole game, Buck Allen, and he was getting the overwhelming majority of the snaps. Five catches.
Yep.
That's where the money is for Buck Allen. Is Matt Schaub is not going to have any choice but to dump off a ton to Buck Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I like him a ton in the same vein that I liked McFadden when Whedon was running the show. We didn't care because McFadden was going to get the workload.
It's just it's the dirty fantasy points, but they all count in the end.
Yeah, if you've got a guy that can get 5 catches and get 20 carries.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's an
matter what he does.
RB1 almost every other week, even if he stinks.
Yeah, speaking of stinks, another guy on this list, Sean Drone.
Yeah,
that guy's not very talented.
I think he's okay.
12 for 37, 8 for 40. Because you're just on the field the whole game. Blaine Gabbert has to dump the ball to somebody when he's going to get sacked.
And Blaine Gabbert clearly likes to check it down to the running back. And Drone, I think he's okay. And he gets to take on Arizona next week. And if we saw anything from Gio Bernard, it's that the way to beat Arizona is dumping off to the running back. So Drone is a decent pickup for me this week. I really, really struggle with my number one priority this week. Is it Thomas Rawls or is it Buck Allen? Because Thomas Rawls, if Lynch is out, which we don't have that news yet. We do not have it yet. We believe that Lynch is going to miss this week. But if he's out, Rawls is a championship-changing running back for your team. Where Buck Allen, I think he'll really, really help your team. Rawls transforms your team, and you now have an instant running back one.
Yep.
So would you argue then, if we don't have news, now we should have news this afternoon about Lynch.
Yeah.
So even though this show is recording now, by this afternoon, we should have some sort of report on the prognosis for Lynch. Carroll said yesterday he's very doubtful for this week. He's not expecting Lynch for this week. And he was pretty forthcoming. Like when you read Carroll's comments, he was pretty forthcoming saying, I don't really, I don't see him playing at Pittsburgh.
Ian Rappaport said today or tomorrow he could be having season-ending surgery.
So
I've seen questions where people are like, "Ooh, this guy's offered me Marshawn Lynch for blah blah blah," and they just weren't aware of this level of look. Marshawn Lynch might be out for the season, so I don't know if we had mentioned that on the show or not, but that's huge.
So I say that simply because you probably have more information to put in your bids before tomorrow. But Mike's point is very valid, and that's going to be team dependent. If your team needs a potential home run guy, then let's say we don't have any more information, then it's got to be Rawls. Like, we didn't even really get into Rawls very much. 30 carries, 209 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown, 3 catches, 46 through the air, 1 touchdown. Dominating on the benches of many teams this week, including my own in 2 leagues.
It was against San Francisco, so you can't expect that every single week. While I'm going back and forth of who should be the number one, Rawls is an absolute must-add. I'm going to throw that out if you're considering, well, maybe no, he has to be added no matter what. But his level of changing your team could be diminished if Lynch is going to be in and out here and there. We have no idea yet, like we've talking about. So Buck Allen is kind of the safer guy where he's going to get the work, but he's on a worse team. Where Rawls is just, Rawls is great.
When you play fantasy football, your philosophy needs to be broader than just who is the number one guy to sign this week.
Right.
Who is the guy that had a great week last week? It needs to be, for me, I got a lot of grief I signed Thomas Rawls in every league I could last week when the abdomen injury popped up for Lynch. I was talking to the Lynch owner. I spent more money than him and signed Rawls because he didn't even bid on him for some reason, and I was giving him grief. And then when Rawls didn't play last week, I got a lot of, oh, you wasted your fab money. I can't believe you wasted your money. And this isn't me laughing now that I'm on top. It genuinely isn't. Here's what I told him last week. I want to win a championship. I don't just want to make the playoffs. I lost Deion Lewis and Arian Foster this year. I have to take a chance. Yeah. Let's say Lynch was healthy for the rest of the year. I don't regret spending the fab money because Rawls could be a game changer if Lynch went out. The same thing goes for if you own Buck Allen. The same thing goes if you own D-Well. We had a guy in our league who signed D'Angelo Williams before every Sunday for 3 weeks before Lev Bell went out.
Yeah, made a big difference to his team. And another thing, if you are in a keeper or a dynasty league, either one, Rawls is possibly like a top 5 option for your keepers, and he's available on a lot of waivers. If Lynch retires, if he doesn't come back next year, Rawls is one of the hottest commodities. So whether you have Lynch or not, he has to be at it. I think for me, Rawls would be my number one in most situations. He's got a better playoff schedule. It's one of those things where if I'm short on backs, if I only have one starter and garbage, then I probably go Buck Allen just to make sure I have a guy that I can start week in and week out the rest of the season. But almost every other position, I'm putting Rawls ahead of him on my waiver priority.
Now, the irony about Rawls is this week he faces the number one run defense against fantasy running backs that gave up 10 carries for 5 yards against Cleveland the last game they played. And so will be
coming off of a bye.
Yeah, it'll be a test for Rawls, but he's very good. He passes the eye test. And I think Buck Allen is good enough, even if that offense never sees the red zone at all. So those are the big two names.
Yes.
Other guys on the list, I'm going to read them off. You guys give me some commentary on them. You guys can pick a guy. Spencer Ware had 11 for 96 and 2 touchdowns for the Chiefs in kind of relief of the Charkandrick West hamstring injury. Sean Drone, Tevin Coleman came in the game after the concussion. Alfred Blue had a high-quantity game and a touchdown from Cecil Shorts, 21 for 58, and then 3 for 34 and a touchdown. Very good game. James White, 2 touchdowns last night.
4 touches.
Yeah.
4 touches, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, just imagine 8 touches.
What?
4
touchdowns?
12
highly sustainable.
Highly sustainable. Maybe on that offense. All right, Matt Jones,
Because
still on the list, even though he had a
he was, but Alfred Morris has a rib issue and could miss time.
What would happen if you put Morris and Jones's numbers together from the beginning of the season? Would it amount to an RB2?
It might. It might be a low-end RB2.
Oh,
But
they can't run the ball.
They've had a couple big games that probably pushed them up there.
So talk about somebody from that list.
So
there.
Spencer
And
Ware.
I'm going to get some names. While you guys do that, I'm going to get some names, and I'm going to ask you if you would drop X for these guys.
That's good because a lot of times people don't know who to drop. Spencer Ware is a guy that if I'm a Charkandrick West owner, I would almost certainly be picking up Ware. I think he can be decent in relief. He had almost 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is not. I mean, you got to keep in mind who he is, right? He was the 3rd string, actually the 4th string coming in before he supplanted Emmanuel Davis. So he's not as talented. You can't just always plug in the guy behind him. But Kansas City is so dedicated to running the ball right now that I think if you have West, you can plug Ware in for a spot start. Or if you've got nobody and West looks to be out later in the week, you might be able to plug in Ware.
Would you play Ware against the Bills, though?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, in a situation where
Just because he's a starter?
Yeah, where you've got a starter who's going to be getting the ball, going to be getting goal line. I would be somewhat comfortable with Ware, not as an RB1, but as a flex option.
All right. Mike, did you have somebody you wanted to mention before I?
Just to go over a little bit more on Matt Jones, which he's not as available as these other players, but Matt Jones has a matchup with the New York Giants, who have a defense that I'm not sure if they realize they play defense.
Right.
So Matt Jones is a sneaky start for me this week.
All right.
And Tevin Coleman, it's funny that we haven't really talked about Tevin Coleman. You know, if Freeman is out, Tevin Coleman will get more than 20 carries. He will. The problem I see with the matchup is Minnesota Vikings, normally lower scoring games, probably not as high a ceiling, but a great floor for Tevin Coleman. And we've been saying this for weeks. If you're the Freeman owner, you should already have him on your team. But if he's out there, definitely go get him.
I will say this, Mike, in the Matt Jones vein, Chris Thompson, if Alfred Morris is out, I think Chris Thompson sees more snaps too.
Yes.
And so in a PPR league, he might be kind of valuable. So let me ask you guys, do you drop Antonio Andrews for any of these guys?
No.
Now, obviously,
Well, for any
Buck
of these
Allen
guys,
and
sure.
Buck Allen and Rawls were kind of considering must-adds.
Yes.
Would you drop Antonio Andrews for Sean Drone?
No.
Because you still do. I mean, Carlos Hyde is going to play a game.
We don't know.
I mean,
we don't know what's going
he
on
shouldn't
with him.
probably, but so you would not drop
Not
Antonio Andrews.
Not
What
Andrews.
about Melvin Gordon for any of these guys?
Oh.
I would drop Melvin Gordon for Buck Allen or Rawls.
Would you drop? Let's see, Carlos Williams for any of these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. All right.
For the big ones.
What about James Starks? Would you drop Starks for either of those two? The big guys?
Yes, for the big ones, absolutely.
Okay. Do you guys have any confidence in, let's see, James White?
I don't have confidence in him. I mean, I started him in one of my leagues. I recommended. Oh, this is a good story. So we had a listener write in. It was a really, really important matchup. They said they were going up against their rival, and they had a bet going where the loser will be wearing a thong in public. And so he asked me, he needed a high potential out of really bad options. There were not good options. And so we actually recommended going James White in this last matchup for the potential of getting touchdowns because you're on a touchdown scoring team. He got them, and he won just because of James White. And he said when he emailed us back that he is picking out the man thong as he wrote.
Oh, my goodness.
Congratulations.
This is the thing. We help people's lives. We save them from.
Make
who knows where his life would go after he had to go out in public?
That's
with
a full
thong.
downward spiral.
Yeah. How much further can you go down than the public thonging?
I was gonna. Yeah.
I hope they're back east, north, where it's very cold.
I thought you just meant far away from us.
No, I'm just thinking freezing thong outside in public. So
we've had a bunch of the Wheel of Water hashtags pop up on Twitter, and a couple of those we don't realize. Like we did all the waterings in one of our garages, and
we're in Arizona.
We're in Arizona. Like it's nice still to be hit with water, pretty much, except for the ice bucket. But these other guys on these videos, they're walking outside into the snow to go outside and
yeah, very funny.
Give each other frostbite.
The James White is somebody that if you've got garbage on your team, James White is an opportunity guy that you should have.
So like all your teams.
That's
James
just
White.
Something you say to your friends.
Sure. Of all the backs we've listed, I'd put James White at the bottom.
Yeah,
I would rather have James White. Personally, I would rather have James White than Matt Jones.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, tight ends, guys. Vernon Davis had a good game.
He did.
6 for 68.
I think it was very related to Brock Osweiler as the starting quarterback.
As was Cody Latimer's emergence, because Cody Latimer and Osweiler had a very good rapport. We've talked about it before. When the backups come out,
QB,
yeah. If you didn't know this, Osweiler, the first game when he came in on relief of Peyton Manning, 3 catches to Latimer. In this game, 2 to Latimer and a touchdown. And let's not forget, this should have been in the news notes, but Emmanuel Sanders has confirmed that he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. And so I think he might play this week. He might not. But I'd rather have Vernon Davis in my flex than I would Cody Latimer.
What about Cody Latimer as a waiver guy, picking him up? Wouldn't talk about him in the waivers?
No, I wouldn't. Even though I said all of those things out loud. Only because I think Sanders is back soon. They're conservative with the offense. They're committed to the running game now with Hillman. 20-plus carries. They can't do too much, and so I think the upside is limited.
Yeah.
I mean,
he only caught 2 balls last week.
Deeper league, yes. Deeper league, that's fine. If you need a flyer, like I would take Funchess over Latimer, okay, off the waivers.
Yeah.
But
well, you said this before, but it bears repeating because it is so true. The Panthers are the 3rd highest powered offense, the 3rd highest scoring offense in the league. So you want weapons on those, right? I mean, we talk about the Patriots at length because you just want every weapon you can get there. Get Amendola. Hey, stash James White. But the Panthers might be the number 2 now after all these injuries. And it's like
crazy, man.
Do you grab Ted Ginn is probably still available in leagues, and guys like that. Funchess is a great pickup. A rookie that's been coming on. He's had in our scoring format half-point PPR over 14 points 2 of the last 3 weeks. So
yeah, I'd rather have Funchess than Dorial Green Beckham. Tell you that.
Yeah.
Tell you that right now.
Spiteful.
And to add to the tight ends with Vernon Davis, Owen Daniels also had a pretty solid game, 4 for 69. It was when Osweiler, because it was his show, if he threw it to the left, I believe this is the way it worked out. If it went left, it was going to Vernon Davis. If it went right, it was going to Owen Daniels. And I expect Osweiler to continue to lean on the tight ends this week.
A guy that you might have forgotten about due to the bye week, if you need a start, Heath Miller is back in action this week as the Steelers take on the Seahawks up in Seattle.
Seahawks are susceptible to the tight end.
They have been. And so Heath Miller's a guy to remember. Crockett Gillmore is the last remaining offensive player for Baltimore. Buck Allen and Crockett Gillmore are running the full offense. No, but, I mean, he was 5 for 101. I don't know. You know, that's one of those things where the rapport with the starter, you know, Gilmore and Flacco had a lot of trust. I don't know if it repeats. It probably does. Gilmore will be involved.
Yeah, and he's
crickets.
He's got the
crickets.
I like Crockett Gillmore. He's been decent on the year. He's facing the Cleveland Brown offense, so I'm pretty sure I put a D at the end
How
of the word
much would
Brown.
you like him if his name was Dave Smith?
Far less.
100%
less. If his name was versus Crockett Gillmore, I
Crockett-
love Crockett
Gillmore is the name of a man who needs to be in action movies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He also makes me think of Butter.
Butter?
Yeah, isn't there it makes me think
What?
Country Croc?
Yeah, Country Crocker. Betty
Wow.
Crocker. I don't know. Dude, I pretty much half of things in life
Or
make
is
me
it Betty
think of Butter.
Crockett?
It's Betty Crockett.
Betty Crocker.
Crocker.
I know
but
what
that's
it
what
is.
that's what it. That's the container that comes to mind. Look,
What's the Kevin Bacon game where everything gets back to butter?
Yeah,
He does.
that's
Jason can do that with butter.
yeah. Tom
Everything-
Brady.
Everything life is
5
3
degrees
degrees.
of butter.
I
No,
believe I
he's
have
3 degrees to butter.
Yeah, I have already, right? Didn't I
3 degrees
didn't I
to
call
butter.
Deion Lewis a stick of butter when he was sliding between guys?
You've got issues.
All right, I've got to be right back. I need to go
Look,
get some waffles with some butter.
His name is literally Davy Crockett.
Yeah.
You go with butter?
Yeah. Man, I'm hungry. Is anyone else hungry now?
Oh, I've got a stick of butter in the
Yeah.
studio fridge.
You're going to have a moon waffle.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Another Simpsons reference that you guys don't get.
Yeah, that's a good one. Austin Safarian Jenkins.
Breaking news on
Oh,
ASJ.
hold on.
He is
You got to hit the button.
well.
Breaking news.
He is still practicing. he is still at practice. That's going on, I think, 5 weeks now, where he is practicing and not cleared to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
it's about the
All
third
right.
week in a
All
row
right.
where they've said that Jenkins is going to play, but I'm hearing that Jenkins is going to play this week.